You know that moment when you're standing in the kitchen, dinner is burning on the stove, your child is screaming from the other room, your phone is ringing, and you feel this wave of overwhelm crash over you so hard that you genuinely cannot remember the last time you felt calm? That moment right there is exactly why you're watching this video today. And I want you to know something before we go any further. You are not failing. You are not a bad parent. You are a human being operating under an enormous amount of pressure with very little guidance on how to actually make things easier. Most parenting advice out there tells you to do more, be more patient, try harder, schedule better. But nobody is sitting down with you and being honest about the fact that the daily chaos is not your fault, and more importantly, there are incredibly simple shifts you can make that change everything almost immediately. Not in theory, in real life. At 7 in the morning when everything is already falling apart. Parents who apply even just a few of the strategies we are going to talk about today report feeling dramatically less stressed within the first week. We are talking about families who went from screaming matches every single morning to actually leaving the house on time feeling connected and calm. That transformation is not magic, it is strategy. And strategy can be learned. Before we dive deeper, I want to mention that we have related programs linked down below in the video description. If you have been struggling with the daily grind of parenting and you keep telling yourself that things will get better on their own, I need you to hear this. They probably will not without intentional tools and support. Most parents wait months or even years longer than they need to before getting real help, and that is time you cannot get back. The programs below are there for a reason. If something pulls you toward them as you watch this video, trust that feeling. That pull is your instincts telling you that you need more than just a YouTube video. But for now, let us get into what you came here for. Let me paint you a picture. It is a Tuesday morning. You have barely slept because your child was up in the middle of the night. You wake up already behind. You ask your child to get dressed. They ignore you. You ask again. They start crying. You raise your voice because you are out of patience before the day has even started. You feel guilty the entire drive to school. By the time you get to work or get home, you are already emotionally depleted, and the day has barely begun. Sound familiar? That is not a parenting failure. That is a parenting system that is missing a few critical pieces. The first piece is what experts in child psychology and family therapy have consistently identified as one of the most powerful tools a parent can use, and it costs you absolutely nothing. It is called the 2-minute connection. Before you ask your child to do anything in the morning, you give them 2 minutes of complete, undivided attention. You sit with them. You make eye contact. You ask them one question about something they care about. This small act tells your child's nervous system that they are safe, that they are seen, and that cooperation is natural and not something to resist. Studies in developmental psychology have repeatedly shown that children who feel emotionally connected to their parents in the morning are significantly more cooperative throughout the day. 2 minutes. That is all. And suddenly the whole morning can shift. But here is the thing that most people miss. Connection before direction is not just a parenting trick. It is rooted in neuroscience. A child who feels disconnected goes into a stress response. A child in a stress response cannot regulate their emotions or follow instructions. You are not dealing with a difficult child in those moments. You are dealing with a dysregulated nervous system. And once you understand that, everything changes. You stop fighting the behavior and start addressing the root cause. Now let us talk about the transition problem, because this is where so many families lose their minds every single day. Transitions, moving from one activity to another, from playing to eating dinner, from screens to bedtime, are the most common trigger for meltdowns. And the reason is simple. Children do not have the same relationship with time that adults do. Telling a child that dinner is in 5 minutes is essentially meaningless to them. What they need is a warning system that speaks their language. The 5-3-1 countdown is something that family therapists and behavioral specialists have used for decades with remarkable results. 5 minutes before a transition, you give a verbal heads up. 3 minutes later, you give another one. Then 1 minute. Then the transition happens. This is not complicated. But families who implement this consistently report that meltdowns at transition points drop dramatically, sometimes almost disappearing entirely within 2 weeks. That is hours of your life every month that you are currently losing to unnecessary conflict, given back to you simply by changing how you communicate time. Let us stop here for a second because I want you to really feel something. Imagine a weeknight where dinner is not a battle. Imagine bedtime where your child actually goes to sleep without 45 minutes of negotiation. Imagine a Saturday morning where you feel present, where you are laughing with your child instead of managing a crisis. That is not a fantasy reserved for parents who somehow have it all together. That is what happens when simple science-backed strategies replace the patterns that are currently draining you. And the families who experience this shift describe it as getting their lives back, not just their parenting life, their entire life. Now there is something powerful that happens when you stop reacting and start responding. Reacting is what happens when you have no plan and you are running on empty. Responding is what happens when you have tools. The difference between those two things is not willpower, it is preparation. Parents who thrive do not have more patience than you. They have better systems. One of those systems is something called the calm anchor. When you feel yourself escalating, before you say something you will regret, you have one physical action that you have practiced, and that brings you back to regulation. For some parents it is a breath. For others it is pressing their feet into the floor. For others it is putting their hand on their chest. Whatever it is for you, having a predetermined physical anchor interrupts the stress response before it takes over. Child behavior experts who work with families in crisis consistently identify parental self-regulation as the single most impactful variable in reducing household conflict. Not the child's behavior. The parent's response to the child's behavior. And here is where it gets really interesting. When you regulate, your child regulates. When you stay calm, you are literally co-regulating their nervous system. Children do not learn emotional regulation from being told to calm down. They learn it by being in the presence of a calm adult. You are not just managing the moment, you are wiring their brains. That is authority. That is the profound weight of what you are doing every single day. The parents who report the biggest transformations are not the ones who read every book. They are the ones who applied a few specific strategies consistently. Consistency is where the magic lives, not perfection, consistency. One more pattern that fundamentally changes family life is what we call the evening reset. 5 minutes before the end of your day with your child, you sit together and each of you says one thing that was hard today and one thing that felt good. This ritual does something extraordinary over time. It builds emotional vocabulary in your child. It normalizes struggle. It deepens trust. And it gives you a window into their inner world that most parents never get access to. Children who participate in this kind of ritual consistently show greater emotional resilience and stronger attachment to their parents according to research in family systems therapy. You have been carrying so much for so long, and you deserve real support, not just inspiration that fades by tomorrow morning. The related programs in the video description below exist for parents who are ready to stop surviving and start thriving. If you are still watching this, you already know you want more than where things are right now. The parents who do nothing different tomorrow will have the same Tuesday morning 6 months from now. But the ones who take that next step today, right now while this is in front of them, those are the ones who look back and say, that was the moment everything changed. The information is below. It is waiting for you. The only question is whether you will be the parent who acts today.